Well, the USGA is hosting its 999th championship this week, the U.S. Women's Open, presented by Ally. And the winner come week's end stands to take home a record-setting prize in women's golf. And speaking of that prize, this year's purse is a record $12 million. That's up $1 million from last year and more than double the prize fund from 3 years ago. Back in 2021, the prize fund stood at $5.5 million. So huge gains being made in the purse increase at the U.S. Women's Open. And a huge part of the reason why we've been able to share news like that is the CEO of the USGA, Mike Whan, who joins us now. Mike, thank you for taking time on what I know is a very busy day. You are the head of a very, very big ship of folks that work day in, day out to put things like this together. Can you just describe the energy and the work that it's taken to get to this, the eve of the 79th U.S. Women's Open?
Well, the good news is this is what we do, right? I mean, this is the 365, 24/7 for us, is creating showcases for the best players, wherever they are in their stage of their journey, whether they're junior or senior, professional, amateur, team events, disabled, and this is the top of the chart. I was thinking about that slide you just showed on purse increase. We've had some pretty big years the last few years. I'm sure my board of directors was looking at that saying, what is going on? But you just brought Ally in, and you know why we were able to lift this thing so high. So I'm really excited. As you know, I've got a personal passion here. I spent a lot of my career with a lot of these athletes. This is kind of a family reunion week for me, so it's pretty exciting. And I think we got both a championship venue and a championship coverage partner. That is exactly what they deserve.
Came here for the first time in 2015. Obviously, that wasn't under your tenure as the CEO, but it was a huge hit. So 2 questions. One, what is the process like when considering a new golf course for one of your major championships? And what specifically makes this particular golf course a great venue for a U.S. Open?
You're right, Brendel. I was here in 2015 as the LPGA commissioner. And I remember saying to the USGA team at the time, this is a home run. And it was a home run. Not just the way the fans came to the golf course, but the way the entire city and region, supported this event. And then when you walk on here, I mean, I got the chance to play it media day then and, media day now. And it's just a big golf course. It's a big, challenging golf course. I mean, Shannon talks about getting every club in the bag dirty, but the one between your ears gets pretty dirty here, too. I mean, there's a lot of mental exercises going on when you're playing this golf course. So this membership so wants to be connected to greatness in golf. And I will say, to their credit, wants to be connected to women's greatness in golf, really wants to be known as a great women's championship venue. And not every golf course, as we all know, says that. And so to me, that's music to our ears. And I said earlier in today's press conference, if you're wondering whether or not there's going to be a long-term relationship between Lancaster Country Club and the USGA, stop wondering. We haven't announced anything yet, but suffice it to say that when 2 parties want to get together and make it work, it gets done.
Mike, as you said just a few minutes ago, you know this field uniquely well, and one player in particular, Lexi Thompson, you've known her entire career. What has she meant to the women's game, both inside and outside the ropes?
I think a lot of fans probably know what she's meant inside the ropes. I mean, just incredible competitor, incredible role model. But I would tell you, if we were building and maybe they've done this since I've left the LPGA, but if you were building a book on how to handle yourself outside the ropes, you'd model it after Lexi Thompson in the last 10 or 15 years. As you know, never missed a Pro-Am party, never missed a corporate outing, never missed an opportunity to sign in. She said it yesterday in her press conference, but I was seeing the moments as she said it. I've seen her standing, signing autographs, crying because the competition was so tight at the end and the last putt didn't go in. And most people are, on the way to the airport at that time, and hours later, she's still out here doing it. So I also totally get it as somebody who spent 12 years on that travel schedule. I was lonely too. I mean, don't let anyone kid you. If anyone says they're not, they're crazy. And she's been doing this since she was 12 years old. So most of us had a different 12 through 20 than she did. So it might sound like 29 to the average fan, but it probably feels like 39 or 49 to her. And if this is the thing that's going to make her happy, I'm so excited for her. Nobody's earned it more than her. And if this is the right next step, I'm excited for her.
Mike, speaking of another impactful player, Nelly Korda, of course, winning 6 of her last 7 starts, has just exploded as a star in the game. It feels like golf is having its very own Caitlin Clark moment. So for you, from your experience as the LPGA commissioner and now as the CEO of the USGA, what are the most important things for golf to keep in mind to be able to capitalize on the momentum of our Nelly moment?
Yeah, I've for 12 seasons as LPGA commissioner, I used to think, I wonder what would happen if we had a dominant breakaway star. We had, in my time, a lot of turnover at the top of the Rolex World Rankings. And it wasn't a bad thing. They came from all over the world. It made our sport global. We sold our TV rights worldwide. But having one star sort of take off, and Serena Williams, you know, the LPGA is an interesting time. And so, and I think, like Caitlin Clark, when somebody starts doing things that no one's ever done before, that's when it goes from a really interesting golf story to a really interesting sports story. And what Nelly's done is turned the LPGA into an interesting sports story. I said it this morning, and I mean it. What basketball is hoping that happens after this Caitlin Clark moment is an explosion of participation and interest in the game. The good news about golf is we've already had it. The explosion that's happened in our game in the last 10 years is like no other sport has seen it, certainly like nothing golf has seen before. And 60% of that explosion is being driven by women. I said this today, when 100 new people tee it up for the first time in golf, 42 of them are women. I never in my tenure would have thought we could say that. There's been 1,000 more high school girls golf teams added in America in the last 10 years. Almost as many now girls golf programs in high school as there are girls soccer programs. Again, 12, 15 years ago as an LPGA commissioner, I wouldn't have believed that could be a factual statement. So it's incredible what she's doing. I hope the world starts to really pay attention on a global level. But even if that moment doesn't happen, the following, the viewership lift, the participation lift that can follow is already happening in golf, and that's pretty exciting.
Expanding on that point just a little bit, and looking at the future Nelly Kordas and Lexi Thompson down the road, and more broadly at USGA initiatives, the national team program. Can you talk a little bit about what that process is going to be like, the selection process, the goals, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, you know, it's funny, Brandel, 12 seasons as an LPGA commissioner, and I didn't even realize there was national programs when I became commissioner. I mean, that won't shock you. I was pretty clueless walking in. But what I realized is every woman on that tour, and I mean every woman on that tour, came out of a country program except the Americans. And so I remember Lydia Ko talking about how she met D1 coaches when she was 14. Carlotta Segunda talking about learning how to work with a caddy when they were 14. You know, understanding team golf at a really young age, nutrition, stretching. I had a coach from college say to me one time, you know how easy it is to recruit a Swedish player? And I said, no, I mean, you have to fly to Sweden, right? She says, no, I fly to Scottsdale because they have a team. Sweden has a house in Scottsdale. And I think she said 25 of the best 14-year-old Swedish players are there. So I just fly to Scottsdale, and one day I meet all the best Swedish women golfers. She goes, why can't America figure that out? I remember thinking, shame on us. You know, we're a smart enough country. So we're about 15 years behind, but we're going to catch up, and we're going to catch up in a hurry. And the most important part of this whole Team USA program is we're going to make sure that we provide the support that other countries are providing their young athletes. Doesn't matter how much money your dad or mom makes. It doesn't matter where you grew up. It doesn't matter whether or not you can or can't travel. We're going to step in where needed, and we're going to make sure that 11 to 17-year-olds, if they want to pursue an elite level of golf, if they've got the ability, then we've got them.
Mike, the whole industry has been thinking about mental health. It's obviously top of mind. I'm sure it's been on your mind. As you look at this national development program, what are the USGA's responsibilities? How will the USGA help ensure that this next generation, this young generation, has the tools necessary for that to be healthy?
Yeah. You know, as we announced this national development program, two things kind of caught me off guard. One is the amount of high-end college coaches that said, I want to be a part of it. And obviously, we hired Chris Embry from USC and now Tiff Joe from the West Coast, too. So we wanted to bring some of that real college knowledge and direction. But the first thing that Chris said when we got here is this isn't just going to be about swinging a club. This is going to be about mental growth, about physical growth, about learning how to become a CEO of your own business. I mean, you know from being out here. I mean, you're running their own businesses out here, and maybe you weren't prepared to do that. So we can do a better job of helping with that. I definitely learned at the LPGA when we made mental health counseling available online. And I remember I'm not allowed to know who uses it and who doesn't, but I remember asking one of our personnel one time, does anybody use it? And I said, we had 80 people use it in the last season. And so it's, I don't know where that is today, but it just recognizes that we all need somebody to talk to. And if you don't have it, you got to make sure you have those resources. But yeah, it will definitely be a major part of our program. I would say that 50% of what the U.S. National Development Team is going to be about physical, and 50% of it's going to be about what's happening off a golf course.
Mike, we mentioned that this is the 999th USGA Championship, which means the U.S. Open at Pinehurst coming up will be the 1000th. Just give us a little bit of preview of how preparations are going ahead of the golf world heading to Pinehurst in just a few weeks.
Yeah, I hope you don't get sick of seeing 1,000 hats and 1,000 pins, because we're pretty excited about it. I don't know if anybody else is, but you know what's really funny is we started this whole thing in 1895 at Newport on a 9-hole course. 4 loops around a 9-hole course in one day. We played the U.S. Open, 11 competitors, and the 1001 championship will go back to Newport for the U.S. Senior Open. So, yeah, Pinehurst is always special, but now it's special because we're neighbors. I mean, we've moved in. I'm not sure everybody in Pinehurst loves that, but we're there, and so we've moved our testing facility down there. Most of our championship group, we have about 65 teammates down there. The World Golf Hall of Fame is literally in the building next door, USGA Experience. So this is going to be a homecoming for us. And, you know, for all of my employees that are usually spending a lot of nights in a hotel, it's exciting to think how many of them will be driving home from Pinehurst. And the good news is, if you like Pinehurst, get used to it, because the USGA is going to be going there a lot. Not just men's opens, not just women's opens, but amateur championships and the like. It is a place like few other. And it's where national championships should take place.
Well, just to follow up on that really quickly, I mean, 999, 1,000, that is an incredible number of times to have staged a golf tournament. Just what does that mean to the legacy of the USGA? You
know what I'm really proud of, and maybe this is showing my women's card, as my kids would say, but when we started in 1895, we played the U.S. Amateur. The next day is almost an afterthought. We played the U.S. Open. I probably shouldn't say that, but I think at the time it was. And then just a short time later, we played the U.S. Women's Amateur. So in 1895, when we started playing championships for the first time, there was women's championships right from the beginning. I'm proud of that legacy. In 1895 or 96, we had the first all-women's golf course join as a member. Seems simple now, but in 1895, that probably wasn't as simple. So I think the legacy of being about golf first and foremost, and if you're good enough to get the ball in the hole in a short enough number of strokes that you're in, I mean, we still believe in that today. It's a very, open approach, and you're right. You know, it's funny, we're here in Pennsylvania. 91 of those championships have been played in this state, more than any other state. And Carol Semple Thompson, who's from Pennsylvania, played in 121 of our 999. Is that crazy? 121 championships. So there's a lot about Pennsylvania we love, and I appreciate you mentioning 1,000. You'll probably get sick about hearing about it in a couple of weeks, but we're really proud of it, and it's a legacy I think the game should be proud of.
2 of those championships came in a very memorable fashion in 2014, back-to-back men's and women's U.S. Opens. Obviously, you're doing that again in 2029. Is that an initiative that the USGA plans to keep going into the future?
Yeah, not only will we do it in 2029 in Pinehurst, but in 2036 we'll do it at Shinnecock Hills. Okay. So Shinnecock is going to be the next one on the docket. It's not a format for every golf course. You know, it's hard-packed, sand-based fairways, probably less of a problem, but it's really exciting to see other courses coming to us and challenging us on other ways to get the men and the women playing it at similar times. And so, yeah, I think that's just the next on the docket, but you'll see more of that. Not to mention the places where this championship are going. Whether we're talking about Toledo and Inverness or Marion or Oakland Hills or Oakmont. I'm really excited about the cathedrals, as my friend John Bodenhammer would say, that we're bringing the U.S. Women's Open to only the cathedrals of the game, and we really believe this is one of those.
Mike, you've been in this position as USGA CEO for a little while now. How would you compare the pressures of being LPGA commissioner to this role? Are there more diet drinks or less?
Yeah, I'm not sure the caffeine intake is any different, but I would say at the LPGA, it feels a little bit more like a startup business, meaning you got to make a decision and move on. You got to zip up the bags on Sunday and get to the next place Monday. So it's quick decisions, make it right, wrong, live with it. You're a small, kind of sometimes dysfunctional family, and I was proud to be a part of that family. You just You just kind of have to move it on. At the USGA, you're making decisions that set precedent on a much bigger and broader scale. So Mike Whan's highly caffeinated pace of play had to be dialed back again. I remember saying to the board when I joined, I promise I won't try to make you like me, as long as you promise not to try to make me like you. And if we can find somewhere in the middle, I think we'll be a better organization. I'm not sure if that's true 3 years in. I'd like to believe that's true, but it's probably not. But I find that this one takes, I know that you'll laugh as soon as I say this, but this job takes a patience that I wasn't born with. And it's one of the reasons I took it. Because, you know, as you grow, and I'm going to be 60 next year, you're looking for things that kind of push you. And I knew the USGA job would be difficult for me, not for everybody, but for Mike Whan for sure. And I've really enjoyed the challenge of that. And you know, when I walked into the LPGA, that was challenging too. But I was ready for the next one. And so I'm still learning. I'm still making plenty of mistakes. But hopefully, the combination of some of those things makes, you know, I couldn't pull off the United States Development Program when I was at the LPGA, but I knew the USGA could. And so I was relentless until we got it off the ground.
Well, Mike, we so appreciate you taking the time. I know that everybody wants a piece of your time as you're here on site this week. And you've also got so much going on. You have floorball ends today. You've got golf's longest day coming up on Monday. Then, of course, the U.S. Open. So, you know, just a bit busy. So if you happen to see Mike around Lancaster Country Club, you will tell him thank you, and also know that he is highly caffeinated and walking around having to do all these responsibilities. So we really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Thank you all for the coverage. It's much appreciated.